Hey, little cutie. Do you see those squirrels? Do you see them? Welcome back in, everyone. Again, this is a follow-up to the last live. We're talking about the tarot card of the week, which is the Star. A perfect card to be exploring as we're getting ready to transfer from Capricorn season to Aquarius season next week. And I just got done talking about the main star in the card and how I believe that's kind of the illuminating factor that pulls us forward in life. That's our true will, our true north, trying to guide us towards where we should be in life. How we should individually express our uniqueness in this realm. And how it requires an assessment and a balancing of the other energy centers within ourselves so that we can allow this pure light that would direct us to where we should go to actually express itself. And I consider all those other stars to be the chakra system within the body and how we need to go through asking ourselves, where are issues surrounding our personal self-worth and our personal security, root chakra stuff? How do we, go about creating things, and how do we feel about, our sexual nature, and how do we feel about producing and reproducing things in the world, as well as our relationship to action. That's the solar plexus chakra. How we move from the heart space in our heart chakra, whether we feel free to communicate in the throat chakra or if we're tempted to tell lies and not express our truth. How we're able to visualize our future. That's third eye chakra shit. And whether we're willing to accept that we are in totality, fully divine and fully human, or if we're imbalanced and we want to throw away our human nature and only claim to be spiritual beings or only value spiritual pursuits, etc. That's an imbalanced crown chakra. We want to understand where we're at any given point in time so that we can be tuned in to when we're being asked to expand in any one of those areas, right? And then moving on from that, we see this nude woman. And what is she doing? She's kneeling at this pool. She is pouring water into the pool. She's also pouring water into the earth. This is a very interesting fact, okay? In the earth also, I'm sorry, I'm going to try and get it to focus a little better. It's not going to do it. But if you look very closely, there are 5 little streamlets that the water that is being poured onto the earth are going out into. Those 5 little streamlets, they represent the 5 senses. That's our human nature. That's the individual, the human experience. That is who we are as creatures. That's the vessel, okay? So she's pouring into the world, into humanity, into what we actually are. And then on the other side, she's pouring into a pool. And that's an interesting thing. It's like, why is she pouring water into a pool? Well, when we see water in the tarot, we have to think about the subconscious, because water is an innately feminine symbol, okay? The water of life. It's the thing that feeds all things, and all things come from, a feminine source. And when we go through all the feminine kind of symbols and archetypes, etc., we get the subconscious, our moods, our emotions, the things, again, that connect us all together as humans. So the subconscious can also be related to the collective unconscious. If you're not familiar with the collective unconscious, I would write that word, that phrase down, do some research on it. Carl Jung has a lot of incredible things to say about the collective unconscious. And what I would equate it to in just simple terms in this moment is the whole of human experience as felt. How it has been experienced in the emotional sense. And this pool of collective unconscious experience, that is the thing we all share as humans. This is the thing that connects us all to one another. Because you cannot meet somebody who does not know what it feels like to be betrayed. Someone who does not know what it feels like to be lied to. Someone who doesn't know what it feels like to lose someone or something of value to them, to lose safety or security, to experience all the things that really, really feel resonant in an emotional sense. We collectively share all of that emotion. And that is where a lot of times we lose ourselves in a moment and something else comes out and expresses. And a lot of times it's to our detriment. It's to the detriment of other people. It's to the detriment of the environment, etc. This is acting out. Okay? And it's inspired often by unresolved feeling. And there is so much unresolved feeling in the collective unconscious. And that is why we continue to do things that are toxic for ourselves, for the other, and for the world that we inhabit. So why is it important that this nude woman is pouring in to the collective unconscious as well as to the physical creature? I think that it's important because it's recognizing that you have your own tangible experiences through life. Okay, you have your own unique experience and understanding and encounters with life and with other people. And you need to, attend to that. You need to do the work of pouring in to what you've experienced, what you've gone through, what reasons you have to be fearful of things, what has made you shrink away from stuff in your own personal life. But at the same time, understand that you have bigger fish to fry as well. You have that collective energy that exists from the beginning of humankind, from the beginning of time, from the beginning of consciousness, that has collected so many issues, so many fears, so many, rejections and lack of understanding and confusion and all of this. We emotionally share that with all of humanity. And to recognize that when we get into alignment with all of the energy centers that exist in our own bodies, and we also get into alignment with the energy center that lives maybe potentially outside space and time, which is the fully actualized self, the fully realized and then actualized self, the highest self, the thing that's calling us to be more than we are in this incarnation. When we're aligned with that and we've thrown off all the baggage and all of the clothing of our personal experience, when we do that work, we are then pouring in to the individual experience as well as the collective unconscious, a new paradigm, a new way of being in the world. It's the way we become a star in the world, an energy center, a beaming light for other people, for other people's transformation, for the transformation of the collective unconscious. All of these things culminate together to transform beyond ourselves. That's why it's important for us to get into alignment with who we are, for us to get into alignment with what we're actually here to do, what we're meant to be like, how we are meant to act, and how we're meant to move through this space and time. When we bring alignment and a unwillingness to carry unnecessary extra bullshit informed by our personal experience or by the collective, experience of being human, when we make ready ourselves to be free of all that, meaning we strip off our clothing, we strip off the things. And think about this from a biblical kind of perspective. Like in the Garden of Eden, before they had, that knowledge of good and evil, they were naked. They had no reason to be ashamed of who they truly are. They had no reason to hide themselves from God. They were fully human and fully accepting of that fact. They were nude. They didn't need to hide. They didn't need to cover it up. They accepted the truth of who they were fully. And they could walk and talk in the garden without fear, without the worry of, outside influences and judgments, etc. That is exactly what it's like to be in alignment with yourself fully. You don't need extra trappings. You don't need armor. You don't need to protect yourself from what's out there. You don't need to protect yourself from judgment. You don't need to protect yourself, in financial security. You don't need to protect yourself in living like everyone else does so they don't notice how damn different and weird you are. None of that is necessary when you're fully aligned with what is for you, when you realize yourself and then actualize yourself. And the beauty of this is that you exist in this paradigm of safety that is unlike any of the safety that our clothing could actually add to the situation. And beyond that, we start pouring into ourselves as individuals and the collective, things that are going to start rippling out as change. You guys want to know how to start a revolution? Start the revolution of self. Revolutionize the way you act, you show up, you speak, you move, you join together, the way you create, the way you visualize, the way you see things. Revolutionize that, and you start to revolutionize the world. Because what is a society? What is a culture? It is a culmination of individuals. And the sickness or health of a society is directly impacted by the sickness or health of its individuals. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm just one person. I can't change the world. Bitch, you are a world. And you're meant to be the star of that world. You're meant to realize what makes you unique and what gives you light, what brings you passion, what brings you fire, what gives you the energy to burn like a star, to shine for everyone else to see. And when we accept that role and we let that light, that fire, burn everything away that we don't need, we become a transformative force. Think about our sun. Our sun is a star. It's our sun that allows all of life to exist as it does. It's beautiful to me because the sun represents that male principle, that igniting factor. And then our earth, which had water, a feminine principle, with the heat, that moving male energy, the combination creates the ability for all life to come from that. That's beautiful. That's magical. And we are meant to become a process that is the star affecting the waters of life. We are meant to warm it up, y'all, in the unique way that your completely unique experiences, while being still connected to the experiences of all other people's. Yes, you go through your own unique, specific experiences, but those experiences have so much in common with everyone else. You are yourself, the discovering of the light within you, the truth of who you are, mixed with I have all of this potential in me. That's what water is. That's the feminine principle, is this ultimate potential. Now, I like to think of that sixth element or the fifth element as being ether. Ether is, the infinite potential of all things. And it's divinely female in nature. It's often represented as a black oval, the void or ether is. And that kind of represents like the ovum. It represents the cosmic egg. And that's like completely feminine. Like the female has the egg. The male has, the igniting principle that creates something out of the potential that egg holds. That all of these processes exist within you. You are a world. And you coming into alignment with who you are, with your light, and allowing that to impregnate the substrate that makes you a potential being. So the waters of who you are, your emotions, the collective experience that we all hold, you have the ability to actualize your light and allow that to permeate through the waters of your being. And that is what starts the process of you getting on the road to your highest self, to the star that you're actually meant to be, which allows you, without having to put on, fake, false trappings that make you seem more important than you are, without having to continue to carry the weight of the pain of your past experiences. You are free. You're nude in this world, and you're safe at the same time because you understand the nature of yourself. You understand that those experiences, the pain you've been through, it has uniquely colored you as an individual. And from that knowing, you recognize that however light manifests through you is going to be unique because of the specific kinds of pain that you have been through as an individual. And again, to even more easily throw off the heavy coats, the burdenous clothing that is your painful experiences, it's really important to tap back into the collective unconscious and realize that even though your experiences are unique to you, the experiences of emotionality and pain, etc., they're not unique to you. Everyone has had to go through this. Everyone will have to go through this. And no matter how we see people in the outside world, maybe they project a really beautiful image of who they are. And a lot of times we end up listening to those who project beauty and project togetherness and project balance out into the world. Bitch, be certain they are not experiencing balance all the time. They are not experiencing beauty all the time. And a lot of the times we see these pictures of people on social media. And it's interesting because social media kind of to me, it's a very quantum mechanics sort of process. If any of you guys have heard of the observer effect, it's basically this principle in quantum mechanics where it's like particles will act a certain way when they're not being measured, when they're not being looked at. And then they will act a completely different way when they're being watched. It's called the double slit experiment that proved this. Particles act completely different ways when they're being unwatched and when they're being measured. So do human beings. And it's important to understand that. There is no one that you can see. There's no image of any being, whether it be some claiming to be totally woke, spiritually enlightened person here back on earth to show the way to you poor, sad humans, or if it's just some amazing, larger-than-life, happy-go-lucky personality. You know who I think of? I think of like a Christy Teigen. Like we look at her and we're just like, oh, you're so happy. You're so funny. You got this amazing husband. Like you guys are living a creative life. Like da-da-da-da-da. You got amazing babies and a great career. All these things that a lot of us see and we're like, that's the girl. That's how I want to be. That's what I want. Bitch, she experiences pain. She experiences fear. She's out of alignment with herself sometimes. Like, just because what we see are all the things that we'd want doesn't mean that she does not wear the clothing of the collective unconscious. Does not mean that these beings that we see projecting one kind of reality or one kind of image, that they don't deal with this. And it sucks because when we see something over and over and over again, we think that we have reason to believe that it's fully true. That's never the case. We never have a full picture. And like I said, humans have no authority in claiming what is true and what is non-changing and what is always the case. We don't know that. So I understand it's very hard to consistently see these messages and these images and get wrapped up and think like, oh my God, like she's perfect all the time, or they never fuck up, or they never feel alone, or they never feel out of alignment with themselves. I can tell you for sure that they experience doubt, that they experience fear, that they are tempted to move from a space of lack, that all of these things still plague them. Why? Because we share a collective nature. Even the most actualized being in this world, even a Ram Dass, who a lot of people look up to as a spiritual leader in this day and age, who a lot of us look at as the picture of somebody who figured it out, who lived in alignment with themselves, etc. If you guys follow him on Instagram, you will see he posts temptations of, oh my God, I'm sorry, a squirrel just went like with one hand at me. I'm so sorry, it waved at me. Hi, squirrel. Even a Ram Dass struggles with the human side, with the I'm annoyed by this person impulse, or I don't really want to do that today vibration. All of us have to deal with that. We don't ever get out of it, which is, again, the reason why I do not like, when humans are claiming to be some sort of highly enlightened spiritual being coming back to share and save us all. I don't like that, because it's giving us this false sense of a true full actualization in this dimension. And I don't think that's true. I've yet to see that as true. I've never even seen a glimpse of someone living that fully. And I know a lot of people will say, well, I've met a spiritual teacher who was like that. Well, maybe their star was shining so brightly that you were entranced and all you could see was abundance and love in that moment. That does not mean that fear and lack don't still live within the humanness of their experience. So let us not be tempted into thinking that there's any finishing the process here. I don't really believe that. I don't. Again, because I don't have any evidence of that being true. I don't. And yeah, humans can't know the truth. We can't be fully certain. So I'm not going to say that that's not happening ever. I just don't believe it. I believe that we're meant to visualize and to come into communion with this highest version of ourselves, but not to become it fully. We're meant to aim at it, because we still, again, we're 100% human. We still live in a limited vessel that has the weight of our collective species experiences in our bodies. It lives in here. We always have access to it, and we can always tune into that vibration if we choose to. It's always there. It's always something to be contending with. And there will definitely be triggers all along the path to fall back into that. Now, yeah, we do have a choice. We have that choice to focus on love, to focus on opening up, expansion, evolution, and to not pay attention to fear and lack and being less than. That's true. But do I think we will always choose love and expansion and abundance? No, I don't think we will. But you can work to start transforming how much easier it is to focus on those things by consistently choosing it for yourself whenever you can. Whenever you can, when you're able. And you just keep flexing it. You keep working that muscle. You know what? Muscles are a great analogy for our spiritual experience in life as humans. The body is limited, okay? When we go to the gym and we start lifting weights, we can very easily build some muscle. Very easily. We don't have to do it that long and muscle starts to form. It's like, oh shit, you're training me this way? You go from huffing and puffing through a weightlifting set to being like, oh shit, I feel capable of doing this. This feels great. And eventually it becomes easy. And then you want to put on more weight. It's the perfect analogy for how humans go through this dimension. Because, why? If you stop showing up at the gym, what happens? Do those muscles that you gain stay there? Nope. Your strength wanes. Your muscles will atrophy. This is the nature of being wholly divine and wholly human at the same time. If we fall off the wagon and we start feeding the off the wagon side, guess what? A high vibing spiritual person could easily do a 180 and go back to living a completely, fear-based lack mentality lifestyle. You absolutely could. You've got to keep working. You've got to keep flexing. There's no achieving it. We are like Sisyphus. If you know the myth of Sisyphus, it's, that ancient that was pushing the stone, the big boulder, the rolling rock up the hill. And as soon as he would get to the top of the hill, that boulder would roll all the way back down. So what would Sisyphus do? He'd go back down to the bottom of the thing. And he's like, it's time to push it up the thing again. This is not about getting to some sort of mountaintop and being like, oh, I've evolved, you guys. Oh, you puny, simple humans down there still living in lack and fear and not enoughness. Oh, I pity the fool. Jeez, so nice up here. No. May there be times where you're on a mountaintop and you're alone and you're really just completely in tune with your own inner light. Yes, I think that's a hermit phase of life. That is, a phase. It's a time, and it's an important time, and you should experience the aloneness of really fully seeking yourself at the, forsaking all others kind of feeling. But I hope that we don't go through our hermit periods and for some reason get into some sort of superiority complex because of that. Because you've just dipped back down into one of the worst things that exists in, human collective unconscious thought, which is superiority, which is actually, again, that's imbalanced crown chakra reflecting an imbalanced root chakra. It's like I did all of this to become something that's secure. And now I'm going to brag about it because I reached it. I'm like, bitch, have you heard of the Wheel of Fortune? That shit changes. Shit goes round and round, and there are cycles of time. We do not get to stop at the top of the mountain. We don't get to stop at actualizing the star. Because guess what? You're only a few cards away from the world. What is the world? It's the turning over of a new cycle, a new dimension of experience, new courses in lessons and life that are going to teach you different and deeper dimensions of everything you just went through. You got to start back over at the Fool after the world. And if any of your spiritual teachers are not accepting their ultimate nature as always coming back to the foolish one who does not know and literally has no solid ground, who's willing to hurl themselves off into the void because they just don't know anything, if they're not willing to come back to that at different points in their life, fuck them. That's all I got to say. Because that's not true to the nature of humanity. We are going to continue to circle through and cycle through experience and learn deeper lessons. We've never achieved it here. We've not achieved it here. Some people might say like, oh yeah, there's enlightenment and you can have freedom from samsara, which is the realm of suffering, which we inhabit now. And, maybe that's true. Maybe that is true. But I would personally think the only way that is true is if every individual human experience, again, we think we're separate, but there's also oneness, right? So individual and oneness, they seem like they're separate, but on the grand scale, it's one thing. So I would have to say that the only way we get out of this game of samsara is once we've lived every fucking life and everyone is actualized. Until that moment, no one has, because there's only one of us here. That's my philosophy. I believe the sum total minds in the universe is one. And we're living out all these individual experiences so that we get every facet of understanding that's at all possible in this realm. And until we live that out with continuing to experience lack and fear and loss and all those things that make up the human experience. Until we continue to go through that and everyone has gotten every bit of experience that is possible, then we're not done here. We're going to keep turning on this wheel. And there's no achieving it. There's no finish line. It's what, we pulled temperance last week, which again, if you guys didn't understand this, I don't think I clarified it. That was out of the 3 hours. It was the 1 hour that didn't save on my phone. So that's not on Patreon, unfortunately. But it was so aligned with the mood that I feel like we really got that out. But with temperance, we see, that being, which looks like an angel. To me, it's the highest self. A lot of people interpret the being in temperance as like the angel Gabriel. Well, if you think an angelic being, a highest self being, what path do they have to walk? What breaks do they need to take into the oasis of pouring into themselves? To me, that's illustrative of the fact that no matter how far we get, we still have evolution to go through. We still have more we can do. The path is ever winding. There's no finish line. There's no end point. It's just the process of becoming. What can we become? We haven't flexed that fully. Nor should we think that anyone in this world is the fullest expression of what we could be as humans. We can always keep it pushing. There's always new experiences to be had. There's always deeper lessons to be gained and learned and shared with the rest of us. And to be committed to that process, that's true love for the world, because you recognize and you accept the fact that I may never get there. I may never reach the mountaintop and then not have a tower moment a few cards later. Where I lose my security and everything that I've believed to be true. We're not free from the experiences in life. Again, that's why it's so important that the star has her foot and she's pouring into this pond, because that's the whole of collective human experience. And we don't get away from all the struggle that has come before us to get us here. And in fact, I say, why would we want to get away from that? I would say I want to be nude. I want to be naked of the weight of this and recognize that it's something that I can come to and pour into versus being completely controlled and burdened by. So there's a difference there in, accepting that this is innately part of us and allowing it to weigh us down. We don't want that. We want to stay naked, stay woke. Staying woke is staying naked. Like I don't have, certainty to shroud myself in and to protect myself or to hide myself from how the world actually is, So recognizing of the fullness of ourselves and the fact that to self-actualize is not to, to gain some sort of reward of not having to go through shit anymore. That's not what it's about. It's about fully existing as the light that you can be, as fully as possible, while not forgetting the way that you impact and are impacted by the rest of human experience. It's being able to flex the totality of what you could become with the truth of what has been. So it's transferring from living in the world of effects, the collective unconscious kind of has us all living as reactionary beings if we don't actually evaluate this stuff, So the collective emotional weight that humans have gone through, that's going to inform how we act if we don't address what truly lives within us, that light that wants to come through and express even in the wake of collective experience. So it's about recognizing that, we have this big pool of infinite experience and infinite, trials and tribulations. And we really can't escape that as long as we're humans in this experience. But we can find our light and we can emulate that as fully as possible as we can in any given moment. We can choose that. And it's almost to me like becoming our own like sun, a star. And if you know anything about cosmology, one day our star will expand to such a place that it becomes a red dwarf. And then eventually it will explode. It will explode and it will become so many other worlds. It'll supernova, and when a star supernovas, literally all of the building blocks of life essentially shoot out from that explosion, that implosion. It's a collapse that actually is expansion. So it's two different things, but the same thing at once. Like, it's both sides of the spectrum, but a totality at the same time. It's fullness. It's not one thing or the other. It's not, I'm infinitely going to expand and just become this huge thing, and my star will just continue to rise and I'll just be continuously bright. It's like, no, one day our destiny is to implode and then to become countless other worlds. That's, I think, what our destiny is as human beings with a spiritual nature, or spiritual beings living through a human vessel. You know, we're meant to actualize as the light that we are. We're meant to realize the light that we are, then actualize it, then grow it as much as possible, going through all the cycles of experience over and over and over again until we implode and our light seeds other worlds, other kinds of ways of humans experiencing one another, or you know, living, breathing, bipedal creatures expressing themselves in our cosmos. You know, I don't like to think that humans are the end point. I think that there's so many other things that we could eventually be over millennia, over thousands of years, over millions of years. You know, and I'm a fan of life and expansion. I'm not holding on to what we're experiencing now. I do like to define the world of effects, just like we all do. We want to know what our finite situation is. But to also have that forward vision to think we could be something more one day, you know? But to also fully grasp where we are right now, which is fully human, limited, you know? We're finite. But we do possess this dimension in which we can flex our light and flex who we are till we expand so much that we just explode out into the cosmos, and that light goes and feeds other sources, other worlds. That light becomes, you know, over time, another star that potentially has a planet surrounding it, that has water or any other kind of substance that might exist in our world that could create life if the right amount of heat is applied. Who knows how many worlds and how many kinds of experiences we could seed through becoming that the fullest expression of light that we are capable of. I don't know, but I love to imagine that. And I love to fully embrace the idea of us as tiny individual creatures who could also expand to being something bigger than we could possibly imagine. But that we're still not free from what has been, and we carry it along with us. You know, we have that access to that dimension. But we can also not carry the weighted clothes that a lot of times I think our focus on the pain of the past and our experience of the past. I was working through this idea yesterday where our painful experiences, our unresolved emotions, they densify in our lives. And if you think of your psyche, your spirit as one big house, you can think of our painful experiences and unresolved emotions as objects that densify in the house. And the more you just let it live as the intense experience that it was, the bigger the space it takes up. And the idea is to take those painful experiences and to resolve them within ourselves. If we resolve them within ourselves, what we're doing is we're taking that density and we're like shrink raying it into its essence. So The potential of the thing is the big, dense object that it could be. And when we resolve it within our own selves, we shrink ray it down to like a seed, its essence. And if we can plant that seed into the space of love within ourselves, now that experience can inform you. It can help you to move in ways that potentially free other human beings from that same level, that same type of suffering that you had to experience. That's what I think, how we can take from the collective pain, and instead of wearing another parka of that pain, just keep continuing to pile shit on, we can be like, no, let me take that off and let me KonMari fold this, make it as small as it can and file it away in the realm of love. Love for your experience. Love for the fact that you can learn something from your experience, that you can condense something into the essence of what it had to teach you, what wisdom it could plant within you. And this is where we become the truth of the unique individuals that we are. Our experiences shape us, but how are we going to let them shape us? Are we going to continue to bulk up, wearing 85 layers of clothing, and we're just waddling around the world? And then when we get opportunities, it's like, shit, I feel like too heavy and like I can't move freely to pursue that thing. Or, say in the house metaphor, if you've just filled it to the brim, to the ceiling with dense objects, then when you have been given an opportunity to move, you're like, oh shit, I can't possibly get all this shit out the door. I've just stuffed it all in here. Versus if we shrink ray it down and we fold it into the tiniest space that it could take up, and we recognize now it's a small version of who I am. It's a small, pocket of wisdom that I have attained through going through the pain of it. And over time, I've allowed it to condense and to fold into itself, to just be something that if I need it, I can go to that drawer and I know exactly where it lives and it's taking up just a little space in my being, but I can pull from that. And maybe offer it to somebody who's going through the same thing. That's what I think our painful experiences are here to teach us. It's here to help us inform the rest of society, the rest of the individuals that surround us, how to potentially move through that same level of suffering, that same level of pain, and potentially transcend it so that they can fold up that super dense object into something small that simply can inform them in the realms of wisdom instead of being carried around like this weight that just takes up space, that encumbers us, that inhibits us from moving freely in the world. I want to move freely. What do you think a naked person does? They can move as freely as anybody out here. Now, yeah, you could be like, well, they could get sunburned and, well, the elements could get them. But if there is joy in the freedom, which, I'm sorry, but every time that we unpack something and we resolve it within ourselves and we condense it to its essence, to the wisdom that lives within it, and we pack that away in the realm of love within ourselves, there is a joy that comes from no longer having to carry that burden. And instead, we just acknowledge the sun for what it is. It's the warmth on our bodies, our full bodies, and no part of us has to be hidden from that. That's a blessing. When the rain falls on us, it's cool and it's refreshing and it's cleansing and it washes away, and no part of our body is hidden from that process. And even when it snows, to feel cold all over, to experience what is in fullness, that's freedom. To not be tainted or colored by the weight of our past experiences, that is the dimension of freedom in which our true self can actually express itself as it wants to. That's where we give consciousness the free rein to come through us in a total way, in a completely unburdened way. That's self-actualization. We've realized like everything that I've gone through has culminated to who I can be now. And I'm going to live through that. So I'm going to actualize that. I'm going to act in honor of that. And push that through and be the light and experience all of what my environment has to show in a free way, not hiding from it in any capacity. Yeah, might I get some hail on me? Ooch, ow, yeah. Other people can still hurt you, okay? Like, I think a lot of people expect spirituality to shield you from life. No. It just allows you to live your truth. I love this phrase, and I forget the person who said it, but it's the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. And that rocked my core, because living our truth is not about pretending like we do not suffer. We don't suffer from being a human. We don't suffer from the effects of our society. We don't suffer from other people acting out their fears towards us. No, we're still going to get rained on. We're still going to get hailed on. We're still going to live through cyclones and tornadoes and tsunamis and all these unimaginable catastrophes. We are still going to live through that. But what I keep thinking about is like the naked little baby in the sun that with his arms wide open, he's celebrating all that life has to give. He's celebrating the totality of experience. And it's like, I will stay young and true to myself, like a little naked baby running around like a jaybird. Like, yes, we out here. And yes, I'm barefoot. And yes, I'm naked. I have no protection. I might step on a thorn. I might kick a rock. I might get hit with, a bee sting. I might get hailed on. I might get rained on. But whatever, I'm going to not put on some fear-based clothing to protect myself from that, because it's a false sense of protection anyway. Instead, I'm going to allow what it feels like to be hailed on to inform my future experience. So it solidifies your nudity in some way. It fortifies who you are as a free, naked being. And it's important to understand that there's the ibis back here, which is a bird of wisdom in the ancient world. That's what it symbolizes. Wisdom acknowledges that every painful experience, there's no hiding from them. So we might as well, naked and with arms wide open, accept them, learn from them, so that we can condense it, fold it up, and allow that to further inform how we go about living in the future, how we go about supporting other people who are suffering, how we go about creatively problem solving the issues that we deal with in society today. Because we understand that we've been informed through our own level of suffering, and we welcome in that process. We don't ask, whoa, why me? Why did I have to go through that? No, we ask, why did I go through that? What's there? What is the purpose? What value does it offer to me? What value can I offer to other people because I went through that? That's the wisdom of the ibis, informing the freedom to remain naked in the world of human experience and in the world of that spiritual connectedness that we all share and can't get around. It's allowing the frailty and the vulnerability of being a human to not be weakness, but in fact to be like, what is the skin? The skin is the largest organ in the human body, and we have all these pores through which we absorb the environment around us. So if we don't shield this infinite substrate through which we can gain information, we don't hold ourselves back in any way. We don't protect ourselves in any way from the totality of experience that we go through. We are allowing ourselves to absorb literally as much information as is in those experiences, those moments. And when we allow that, we are allowing the totality of transformation that is possible from those experiences to come into us just as easily, or as easily as is possible. We invite wisdom in when we remain naked and unclothed and unprotected, because the truth is like, a coat ain't gonna really protect you from a tornado anyway, is it? No. So these are like false constructs of safety. And again, it could be birthed out of this place of an unbalanced root or unbalanced crown, or probably both those energy centers. Especially the root is based in security and safety. And when we have an unrealistic or, not fully developed understanding of what it means to be secure, then we look to outside things to guard us up with, whether that's, the savings account or the investments or getting the right people around you so that by proxy, everybody thinks you're okay, or getting that right job so that, people value what you're doing in the world. All of these are false constructs. And if they're not aligned with our true north, with the star that we're meant to be following until we become that light, we're not going to find what we're seeking, which is fulfillment. Another thing that I always think of when I see water and vessels that hold water is the point of becoming the light that we're meant to be is to live lives that are fulfilled. Not that are perfect, not that are easy, not that are pain-free, not that are, fully without doubt and just always knowing what to do. It's not about that. It's truly not about getting to this position of I'm never worried and I never have anything to fear and I can't feel pain. That's not the truth of the experience that we have manifested into having. And again, the condition of truth is to allow our suffering to speak. And if we have these balanced chakras, our suffering can be condensed to its essence. We can therefore extract wisdom from our experience. We can fold it up and we can plant it in love, not lack, not fear, but in love. So that when we see that problem come up again, we have something to offer. We have our unique take on it. We have our unique experience that we can share with other people. And we can pour into the collective unconscious a new way to respond versus react to pain, react to loss or letdown or whatever. We can seed into the collective a new way to respond instead of living in a fight or flight biological, experience, which is our past experience and what we have to understand we bring forth into the present. But now we can use our full understanding of what all we've been through. We can condense the wisdom from that, and we can understand how to inform future responses and actions in not just ourselves, but in the totality of the world through doing it on the individual level. Because in the Hermetic principles, the law of correspondence reigns supreme. As above, so below. As below, so above. As within, so without. And as without, so within. Literally, what's going on within you will be mirrored out there. What's going on out there will be mirrored within you. So the way you go about fixing the world, healing the world, is to find the problems of the world as they are reflected within your person and working on those. Recognizing where the wisdom lies. What can you extract from that situation? How can you reduce the experiences into the essence that you can build upon with understanding, with acceptance, with love. And love is the holding of all your experience. It's not to differentiate this was good and this was bad. It's to say, this happened. What can I learn from it? Let's not judge our experience. Let's not put on unnecessary clothing to hopefully protect us from that experience in the future. No, let's look at that experience with eyes wide open, asking, what can I condense from this? What could I learn from this? What can I gain from this? And then what could I share out of what I've gained, what I've condensed, what I've learned from that pain? In that way, we make all of our pain meaningful. And if it's meaningful, it's not bad. It's not bad. It can't be, because it's informing a new dimension of wisdom for us. So do not hate whatever phase you're going through. It is here to teach you something specific that who you are as an individual needs to take that next step in your growth. To take that next step in being a helper to those around you, to take that next step in evolving the whole of human experience. When we hit that emergency brake, what we're saying is we don't want the world to evolve, because we're not willing to evolve. We're not willing to make a new choice. We're not willing to do something different. And again, it's not simply our lack of ability that gets us pulling that emergency brake. It's really just the nature of where we've been in the past. But until we understand the impulses that are leading us towards our North Star, and we force ourselves to not pull that emergency brake, but instead to act on our realizations, until we get to that point, we are halting our growth and the growth of the world at large. It's not just about you, but it's totally about you. Your whole life is how you are in the world, how humans could be in the world. What do you do with your time? How do you engage with other beings? How do you work through lessons and challenges and strife and lack and all of that? How do you respond? Or are you still going to just react? React like a frightened creature just trying to survive? Or are you going to step into the realm of thriving? Whereas we allow painful experience into our lives and we welcome it because we know what it's going to be for us. Yeah, we're going to experience pain and we have to go through the emotional resonance of that painful experience. And that part's going to suck. That part's going to suck. But if we don't hate it, and if we don't resist, and if we don't put on another parka, and if we don't pull the emergency brake, what that pain will do for us is transform us, because it has within it the essence of wisdom. And if we learn to accept all shades of life for their essential nature, which is they contain seeds of wisdom, and if we allow that to be planted into the realm of radical and unconditional acceptance of what is, in other words, love, then we can embrace the totality of our experience. We can embrace every stage that humanity has to go through. We can avoid being nihilistic or misanthropic, where we say, oh, humans are just the problem. Like, fuck humans. Like, if it weren't for humans, like, this earth would be such a magical place. That's so genocidal, you guys, and it's a resistance of who you are. You know, you might think, no, I just have a problem with other people. No, bitch, you're not separate. You are a microcosm of the macrocosm. If you express disdain for your fellow beings, it's masking a disdain for yourself. And until you love and accept yourself fully, you can't actualize who you're meant to be. And if we don't love the totality of what humanity has had to go through in order for us to condense wisdom to be a next stage of who we're meant to be, then we can't level up. We can't express as something different from how we've always been. We can't expand, we can't grow, we can't evolve until we radically and unconditionally accept what we are and what we must go through in order to become who we're meant to be, which is lights. We're meant to be stars in this world. We're meant to guide other people home to themselves. And that's the fucking mood. That's the mood of this week. That's the mood as we open ourselves up to Aquarius season, as we approach the next eclipse in this eclipse season. So I hope you guys all just absorb this and take this in, and that it resonates with you in whatever way that it